Nice, do it, man. That's awesome.
Ball.
That's awesome. All right, we are online. I'm streaming to Periscope as well. Remember that thing? Like, who the hell uses Periscope these days?
Old school.
Super old school.
You should stream to MySpace as well. It's pretty cool.
I heard about Friendster. I heard it's a cool thing.
Up and coming, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. It's cutting edge tech. This internet thing's a fad anyway.
It's true.
Remember when people used to say that? Like, we're old enough to actually remember when people said this internet thing's not gonna last. It's a fad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, found it. Beautiful. Copy that. Oh yeah. And pasting that for you in the chat. If you copy and paste that into the browser, that's the share. That will take you directly to the video. And then I've got also, if you would like to make your life easy, sir, I've got some copy here for you as well in the chat.
You're a professional, man.
I do what I can. I follow the lead of Chad from Affiliate World. He puts on a good show, so he makes life so easy for everyone. Oh my god.
That's pretty cool.
Let me make sure I tag you correctly as well in here. I can't wait for the day I get a growth and greatness assistant. That would be so amazing.
So what's the plan with G&G?
There is no literally. So I can tell you it in a sec. I'll just do these share. Actually, I can tell you while I'm doing the shares. I'm pretty sure I can multitask at the same time. There literally was no plan. I just figured, you know what? I'm hearing all of these people. I'm hearing about all of these people absolutely just freeze up when it first struck, or when the phenomenon was starting to spread all over the place, and different countries were getting affected, and people really got frozen in such a big way. So I figure, you know what, I've always wanted to do an interview show. This is probably if there's any time to do it, I really do think this is now the time. So
cool.
That where it's going, I have no solid plan whatsoever. I'm just enjoying myself right now. It also gives me an opportunity to just reconnect with buddies again, relive Phuket times, or relive Barcelona times.
Absolutely.
All right, shared across.
So we're actually live though, right?
Yeah, we're already live. It's
okay. So just.
Yeah, totally. We're already live. It's just right now we're on pre-roll, so we've got like 6 more minutes. This is time when, literally, I say for the 7 people that are watching us right now, if you can see Depesh and hear Depesh, if you can see me and hear me, please drop us a fire emoji, because Depesh is about to drop some really cool stuff. Also, at the same time, remember to tag a friend. Every time I talk to Depesh, I learn something new, and learn something super awesome and implementable. So make sure you tag a friend who needs to see this as well. We've got 6 more minutes just to jam, get warmed up. We're glad that you're here. Some of you might want to leave, go make a coffee or a tea or or warm milk. I don't know what time it is for you, wherever you guys are watching, and then come on back. So again, if you can hear us, or you can see us, and you can see us, can you please drop me a fire emoji? Okay, David says, "What's up?" David, can you hear us? Can you see us? Can you give me a I can hear you, I can see you, I can hear Depesh and see Depesh. He was working out before. I don't know if you guys missed it or not. I got to see him like
I can carry on. So I've got a standing desk, and what I like to do is, like, often I'll be in Zoom meetings, whether I'm on video or off, I don't really mind, but I have a 7 kg ball, which is just useful just to bounce around and stuff and just do a workout, right?
I need one of those. Yeah, I need one of those, man.
It's really cool. It's really good. And then what you can do is you can stand on one leg and do it, balance and get your core in place and all that kind of stuff, and do a few lifts, and yeah, it's all good.
My man, I have not, like, the day the gyms shut, so they shut gyms here in Australia around like 2-3 weeks ago. I have not worked out. I've taken the dog for a walk. That's about it. Like I went from working out every day, getting into a good groove for like 3 months, 4 months, and then it came to a dead screeching halt. And then like growth and greatness show, you know, like taking all these things on. It's not good. It's not because my gym is 2 minutes from here, so the convenience was helpful as well. Whereas like, you know, at home it's a bit, I gotta get the leaf blower out and blow out all the leaves in the backyard and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
13 people here. Guys, can you hear us or see us? Like, can someone drop a fire emoji or any kind of pick an emoji. You know what? Just pick an emoji. If you can hear Depesh and I just talking shit right now and talking about our workout habits or my lack thereof, do us a favor. Drop us an emoji.
Yeah, so like when it comes to workouts, one of the things that I've learned in my wisdom over many decades of living is you know, when you think about mental health, and you know, I've been impacted by mental health challenges as many people have, just working on your physical state makes such a difference. Like, when you're feeling low on energy, you don't feel motivated, you're struggling with, you know, all the issues that are going on, just working out makes such a difference. And the chemicals it releases, it gives you the kick up the backside you need sometimes as well. So yeah,
absolutely. I
try and keep it going as much as possible.
So good. I feel so worse off for this by not working out. Coincidentally, by the way, here's something really interesting that I only thought about as I was writing up the copy for promoting this episode with you. This week seems to be UK week because just 2 days ago I was talking to Oliver Kenyon from Landing Page Guys. And this week also happens to be Chef Week because he's a fully qualified chef. And you are the chef when it comes to the BPM. You're the BPM chef. So I was like, how serendipitous. This is funny.
That's pretty cool. And then actually, interestingly, in the lockdown, I've done more cooking over the last 3-4 weeks than I have over the last 5 years, probably. So that's been an interesting thing as well. Because the thing is, like where we're really struggling is we're on lockdown. So we aren't having visitors, we're not going out, which means we're not getting help in the house like we usually would from nanny and PA and cleaner and stuff like that. So we've had to do everything ourselves, and it's been an interesting challenge to say the least. But it's also meant I'm doing a bit more cooking as well, so that's been a good break.
That's awesome. Nothing better than mom or dad's food. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I hope that's what the kids say.
Oh, I hear you. That's funny. Totally. Hey, we got some emojis here. That's good. So we got some fire emojis. Morel, what's going on? ¿Cómo está, my friend? We got Anwar here as well. Hey guys, if you can hear us, we got like 2 minutes before we go live, like live. If you can hear us, you can see us. Please drop us an emoji. Just drop us some fire emojis to let us know you can hear us. And also, do not forget, like Depesh is about to drop some really cool stuff, and I'm about to have the cool opportunity to pick his brain for an hour or so. And I'm glad that you guys are here. We always appreciate your attention. Make sure you tag your friends who need to see this as well. Make sure they jump on this live, get to ask the questions. And also, one thing is, when we get closer to the end, I always tend to reserve the last like 15 to 20 minutes so that if you guys have any questions, throw them into the comments, and I'll make sure I throw them over to Depesh, and we can pick his brain together. Because after all, this is as much your show as it is mine. All right, 1 minute to go. I like this. I'm getting pumped up. James, what's going on? James B, OG right there.
I'm looking up there because I've got another screen. I'm looking at the streamer comments as well whilst you're talking.
Nice. Man, do you have like a trader thing going on?
So I've got my standing desk here with my laptop, and then I HDMI connect it to my screen that's on the wall. So I usually just kind of sit here working like that, and it's good for the posture. Yeah. I prefer standing rather than sitting. I feel more energized and motivated to work as well. So yeah, I use my laptop like for Gmail and Slack and all the kind of smaller apps, and then when I'm actually working, I'm kind of looking up there. And yeah, it's just and actually
that's awesome.
to add to the exercise element, I have my music playing as well. So you're like, yeah, getting the calves going and the energy and stuff. So I like my little setup.
That's dope. All right, we're 5 seconds away. Let's swap on over, and I'll make sure I intro Depesh nice and good.
You'd like the countdown.
What is going on, everyone? I am so happy that you're here. And as always, I do appreciate your attention on this live. Today, I cannot wait to switch over to the next screen. We've got Depesh himself on this call with us and on this live stream. Depesh is, how can you not know Depesh? I mean, if you're watching this show and if you don't know Depesh, you really should. He is a Facebook ad expert, manages millions in spend, and has done some amazing feats in the past, which brought him his claim to fame, really. And I can't wait to pick his brain and hear the story directly from him. Today, we are talking about the right mindset for successful Facebook ads, especially in this time. I'm really big on mindset and having the right principles. So without further ado, let's swap on over and let's say hi to Depesh. Depesh, what's going on, my man?
Hey, all good here. Enjoying the grey skies of London, but brightened up in your presence, Dee. So absolutely delighted to be here.
Appreciate you. My brother's actually still in London. He's going back to Singapore. He's getting repatriated, I guess is the best term to put it, on the 1st of May. So he's been telling me stories around, what's going on with what's going on right now in the situation over in the UK.
It's a weird situation for sure.
Totally. Let me actually resize that. Beautiful. Oh, so the whole one, I'm really happy that you're here. I really do appreciate you. You're a super busy man, and we jam a lot from time to time, just around jamming about agency, how that's going, and naturally picking your brain about Facebook ads. Let's jump straight into it. And it's funny, right? We'll start off a few steps back, because I just saw a comment in there, someone saying Depesh is the e-com expert, but I know that you don't only come. It's not only e-com. There's the tech thing as well, and coming from that type of background. And I remember the story about how Shalene and you first met back in the day. Like, there's such a progression. Besides e-com, there's all this other stuff too, right? Like coming from tech, coming from I guess a more CMO mind type of background.
It's been an interesting career ladder, let's put it that way. So I started off as a developer. Like, if you go back to my teenage days, I used to love playing computer games. And in my mind, I wanted a career where I could do something with computer games. So for me, naturally, it was to go into computing. And it came to the stage, and this is something that's messed up with society, right? I'm 16 years old. I'm being asked, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? What career do you want to pick? You're 16 years old. And like back then, you don't really think about it. But now when I reflect back, I'm being asked to make life-setting decisions at 16 years old. Like, which career do you want? Do you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer and stuff? I didn't honestly know. I remember sitting in the school library looking at jobs based on projected salaries. And it was like, computer engineer gets 80K a year. Doctor could get 200K, but I'm not really into science. And it was literally just, that was my process of career choice. Ended up taking computing, went to uni, met my wife there, which was probably the only reason I ended up going to uni. I didn't really feel like it was a great use of 4 years. But anyway, and left that, went into project management. And then I was super fortunate that in 2005, I kind of done some web development, design. I had my own website and stuff like that just to play around with. But in 2005, I started working for an e-com company. And that was like, I found my place. Like, this was absolutely what I loved to doing, what I wanted to do. And then since then, I've just really focused in on online marketing and sales and stuff like that. So I've come from a technical space, and then kind of bolted on the marketing. And one of the things that I talk a lot about is the difference and the connection between a performance marketer and a brand marketer. My first experience was, I was a numbers guy, I was an engineering guy, I was a developer. So for me, I was a performance marketer. It was all about the numbers and mechanically squeezing the funnel, essentially, to get more out of your spend and stuff like that. And for the first maybe 3 to 4 years, I had major conflict with brand marketers, because they were all about the fluffy stuff. Like, how does it look? How does it feel? How do we write this kind of stuff? And for me, it didn't make sense. And, I remember I run my first split test, and we were testing a sign-up page. And just to test the software, we did a test on the branded green color call to action versus a red call to action, because it was the most contrasting thing we could think of. That's all we tested. A week later, the red button had increased signups by 30%. That's all we changed in a split test. I went back to the marketing manager and the marketing director at the time, and the brand manager knocked me down, and she said, green is our brand color. There's absolutely no way we're going to change this color to red. But I said, the numbers are saying 30% increase in, and this was 2 weeks of data. This was consistent. 30% more signups. I don't know why. I don't know why red is working better than green. I don't care. Like, I want these. And basically the long and short was, they said, no, we're not changing our brand color. And that really, like,
Wow.
as a numbers guy, I could not understand how a business could make a decision to not change the color of a button because brand was more important and how it looks and feels more than results. So it really kind of like, that really bugged me that I was quite, I guess, inexperienced in terms of convincing and selling this in. And that really made me feel like these brand marketers have no idea what they're doing. Now, fast forward some time after that, as I started to go deeper into the world, I started to understand more of the good stuff that they brought, but also the gaps. So I remember working with a really big agency when I was on client side, and they come up with this marketing plan. We had 100K to spend on a particular campaign, and they came up with this marketing plan of where we're going to spend it, how many impressions we're going to get, what kind of CPM costs we're going to get as well. And this is the kind of 2 week push that we're putting forward. And I'm sitting there and I said, how many sales do you think we'll generate off the back of this? And they said, what do you mean? And I said, CPA, ROAS, give me an idea of, like, from this 100K, what you're looking. And they said, that's not how we operate. We work on impressions and CPM.
Yes.
We
Wow.
kind of give you an idea of where we can do that. Then it's up to you how you convert it. And that just, I was speechless. Like, what do you do with that as a performance marketer? I've given you 100K. Like, this is an agency I inherited, huge global agency, like manages hundreds of millions of dollars in ad spend a month and all stuff like that. But this is how they were selling media proposals. And I'd just joined this company, and I was like, this is insane. Like, give me 100K.
What year was this?
Performance. Sorry.
What year was this?
2013, so about 7 years ago now.
Not that long ago.
It's not long enough to think that by that point the major channels were Google Ads, affiliate marketing, and shopping lists, and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of performance opportunities. And at that point, I was spending significantly in paid search. So in my mind, I'm thinking, give me that 100K. I'm going to go and buy some traffic, and I'll convert that and create 200-300K back. And that was like just totally insane. And it was like, there's a huge problem here. And over the time that I've got better at understanding the broader aspects of marketing, I really understood what the brand marketers can bring, which is really understanding your avatar and really coming from a place of building a bigger top of funnel than what performance marketers are generally good at, plus bringing what I knew about performance marketing and funneling that better. And I think that's everything that has led to my successes, not just on Facebook, but other platforms as well, that I've kind of merged those together. And that's really my play right now is, when I talk about Facebook advertising, I don't spend so much time on the technicals and the hacks and things like that. It's not to say they don't work, but if you want sustainable success with Facebook ads and you're building something that has an impact, a purpose, you can convince people to come into your funnel. You're using psychological tricks and tips to present your product in a way that evokes a reaction from them in your ad, gets them into your lander, and then you work on those micro conversions. That's my success. That's pretty much it, which is I can understand the consumer, get into their mindset, and create a funnel to convert. And that's essentially what it's about. And like, if you look at right now, a lot of people are not advertising on Facebook. They're shutting their businesses down. People are scared, etc. They're not seeing performance as they need to on Facebook. We saw that as well. Some of our ad accounts, as many people have seen, costs went down, conversion rate went down. What do? Everyone wants to take advantage of that. We pivoted. Like, pivoting is one of the biggest keywords you'll hear right now and going forward into 2020 as well. We pivoted our messaging, our angles, not just by throwing new angles in and testing. We took a step back and said, right, where is the consumer now? What's their mindset? What are they worried about? What are they thinking about? I've seen people say, advertising on Facebook is harder because people don't have money. They do. Like, recession, if there's going to be a recession, it has a knock-on impact. So first people lose their jobs, then they struggle with money, and then they're really down. That has a flow. There's a kind of time graph of when this thing starts and ends. People are still buying online. They're not just going to stop buying. And even more so, people can't go to the shopping malls. They can't get out and buy their local things, can't go and buy apparel from their local stores. So they will have no choice but to buy online. And then therefore it's how you position your product for that new mindset. We have a new normal right now, which is being in lockdown, not being able to see your friends, not being able to travel and stuff like that. So if you're not adapting to the new reality that's out there, then you will be the ones that will struggle. There's going to be niches that are going to be a lot harder to sell, like travel, local, and stuff like that. But for a majority of ecom, from what I've seen, there is an opportunity as long as you understand how to react to how the consumer is thinking right now, revisit and rebuild your avatars, then you can construct an ad campaign that's going to work.
That's amazing. That right there, that spiel right there. I wish I could put into a bottle and just like give it away on the street. It's that's exactly, and that's exactly it. It's, I love the big picture thinking that you're bringing to the table, and the fact that it is, everything that you've said back then was based on principles, not on tactics. Not a single mention of CBO or ABO, or because the principle will then see you through the tactics, where it is very much more situational, niche to niche, whatever it might be. And it's so interesting also what you mentioned about the fact that there is a new normal and there are stages to this, and the fact that there's a time curve, right? There's a time curve that you can map, a timeline rather, that you can map with a proportionate activity and market activity, consumer behavior to go with that. That was one of, in fact, it's so funny that you say that, because that was one of the first things that my brain went to when this all first hit. I so vividly recall hearing about it the first time, January, the first case was reported December 31st, January 1st, somewhere around there. And I remember showing my wife this YouTube video of it, and the title was Wuhan Citizen Talks About What's Really Happening in Wuhan. And keeping in mind, in China, you like vlogging and talking poorly about the government is illegal and monitored. So he was taking a big risk. And I turned to the left, and I told my wife, this is gonna go everywhere, because Chinese national university students, college students, like we are, like the Chinese people are everywhere. So I was bracing for that already, and I was watching it happen recently. Maybe a month ago, I wrote a quick blog article based on research around what I believe the 5 stages was gonna be, and this new normal is exactly it. And the fact that we have to identify, I guess as marketers and as business owners, we have to identify pockets, right? So what I mean by that is, instead of saying people don't have money, well, what people are, because the spenders are still in certain pockets. What demos are you serving to? What type of geographical areas are you serving to? And what type of psychographical are you serving to as well? So I'm so appreciative that you said that, because that helps us really cast a lens, the right lens, onto what's happening right now. How are you, because I know you have your very prolific Facebook group and you have your students that you teach as well. What are the common mindset or strategic or tactical struggles? Are you seeing any commonalities and patterns that you're helping them navigate through?
Yeah, I think it touches on one of the points you made about, when I've just shared strategy, I haven't really gone into tactics or CBO this and all that. And I think when people see issues with their ad accounts, a lot of times it's the default is to go and tweak stuff, and also to follow the latest strategy that you just read about in a new Facebook group, and create 10 ad sets, duplicate it, triplicate it, manual bid, this bit. There's a tendency to forget the fundamentals of Facebook advertising and to go into the kind of hack mentality, because you're on the defensive, and when you're on the defensive, you feel like you need to react. And I think that's something which I'm trying to get people to not overly focus on, which is, if one day goes bad, it doesn't mean that the 2 weeks of success you've had is just all trashed. For example, we had one ad account, what are we now, Friday? So yesterday, actually, after 7 days of really good results, yesterday the performance dropped. So we'd be getting 200-300% ROAS, it hit 100%. We haven't changed anything. We haven't reacted to it. And today it's picking up again. This is just how Facebook is working. This is how the auction works. And I think that I'm trying to get people to understand, if something stops working, it's just understand what the possibilities are. It could be something in the consumer space. So, for example, Wednesday this week, if a lot of people that are advertising US saw some really good results, it also coincides with the US releasing funds for people that are
The checks
needing income
dropped.
support and stuff like that. Yeah, so like there's external things that are going on which are absolutely outside of your control. So, for example, if on Wednesday you saw amazing performance and you scaled it 10x your spend, and you expected the same to happen Thursday, Friday, and it didn't, if you're not aware that an external event happened, you're going to look at your ad account and start changing things around. Like, what's gone wrong? What did I do? And you will unravel the good work you've done already. Like, that's one of the biggest issues I see is by reacting too soon and not understanding not just your ad account and your numbers, but the context of what's happening as well. You can really unravel that. Now, back in 2007, I started to study foreign exchange trading.
I'm
And
so
I
glad you
think
brought that
that
up.
and I think that helped me immensely. Like I had 6 months of training. I never left a test account, so I haven't traded live because I failed so miserably as well. But I learned so much through the process of what goes into the mindset of a trader, of when things are going well and when to cut your losses, and when things are going bad and when to cut your losses, and how to take data around what's happening in the economy, the news, the releasing of data from governments, and how that impacts your trading as well. And I honestly believe that a lot of my early success with Facebook and understanding the algorithm wouldn't have happened without that immensely powerful trading. Like back in the day, I had 4 screens and different currency pairs and different charts. I'd be looking at the movements and trends and figuring out when to get in, when to get out, using automation and rules and things like. If you think about Facebook ads right now, this is exactly it, but it's just in a different format. And I would launch test accounts and I would make some wins, get overconfident and trash my learnings because I now feel like I've got full control over this account and I don't know what's going on. And then some news is released and I have no knowledge of that going on, and all the numbers start to tank and I've lost all my profits. So, you know, I think that if someone wants to power through their learning on how the algorithm works in Facebook, go and do some day trading, go into a test account. You don't need to lose any money, but understand how all that works. And you'll be so much better primed for Facebook as well, because, there's so much outside of your control. If you look at the metrics for
Mm.
Facebook, so if you're in e-com, for example, you might focus on return on ad spend, you might focus on CPA, whatever it is. If you look at ROAS, there's only 2 metrics that influence that: your average order value and your cost per acquisition. Which one of those is more in your control? It's actually AOV, not CPA, because CPA relies on Facebook. AOV absolutely relies partly on the quality of traffic, but it relies on you, your landing page, your funnels, your upsells, your cross sells, all that kind of stuff. And that's something which I'm trying to get people to understand a lot more about is if you can shift those numbers, the AOV, for example, and we did that recently with a client. 2 weeks ago, we were struggling with CPA. The conversion rate wasn't as good. Cost per click was a bit high. And we said, let's look at the landing page and tear it apart and rebuild it. We did that. Conversion rates improved by threefold from 1% to 3%. And therefore the conversion rates higher. But at the same time, we worked on the bundles as well. It's a single product store. And we worked on bundling. We took their AOV from $50 to $100. So not only have we increased
Amazing.
the AOV, we've increased the conversion rate. We've touched nothing on Facebook. I don't care about Facebook right now. And now we're able to spend more without worrying about hacking and CBO and manual bid and all that kind of stuff, because our funnel's working. And I think that's a big part of just understanding. So we talk about context of the economy that we're in right now, but it's also just getting good at media buying. And someone posted in my group yesterday and said, with AI coming in and machine learning and different tools that allow you to bid management and stuff like that, and especially with CBO, and that's why I love CBO so much, you're giving control to the machines. If I look at what we do right now with rules and automation, so go back 2 years, we relied heavily on rules and automation. So increase bid,
Yes.
decrease bid, do all this kind of stuff. Right now, we don't run many rules because we let the machine, Facebook's machine, take over. As long as you put good data in, i.e., great creative and angles and offers and landers and all that kind of stuff, which is where we spend most of our time, then we don't actually spend much time in the ad account as much as we used to.
Absolutely. Which is This, yeah, man, two spiels so far, and I'm already, I'm loving it to such a large degree. I'm so happy we're getting to catch up again. I wish we could do this. I wish we could do this more. Now, based on what you said, I'd love to dig into a few pieces, right? And I need to make a mental note so I don't forget what they are. I'll list them out first so that I can expel them, and then we can hit them. So the first one being, I'd love for you to uh, share some insights around what the emotional management skills that you learned from running, being a day trader, or at least in the test accounts that are seeing you through the times now, and seeing you through harder times as a media buyer, and even great times as a media buyer, or as that performance marketer mindset. And then the next one also is the the analogies, because you have those great analogies as well. Those analogies, and we can discuss that later, that drawing the comparisons around how world events impact markets, just like in the stock market, and also just like how you said, when the checks dropped, performance goes up, completely outside of your control. But if you can pay attention to these things, will it help you become a better media buyer or performance marketer from a holistic aspect? And then I guess the third one is, we can talk about systems thinking, and we'll leave that to the very, very end. But let's kick off at the first one. What were the emotional management skills that you managed to craft and hone while learning about Forex, and actually executing, not just learning but doing, that you can that has a strong knowledge transference to being a performance marketer?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it starts with data. So, for example, when I was doing the day trading, we had access to tools that give us different trends and views and stuff like that. So we knew roughly when to get in and when to get out, for example. And with day trading, you need to have zero emotion. So if you're looking at these charts and stuff, and you've hit your profit number, but emotionally you feel like, I just want to wait a bit more, just want to wait a bit more, and then I'll cut my losses, you end up failing because you don't know where the market's going. So you need to be really cold and calculated when it comes to day trading. But that relies on something. Number one, it relies on you understanding the system. And number two, it relies on you having access to data. So, if I look at my Facebook ads campaigns right now, me and the team have access to data at our fingertips. Don't go into Ads Manager, don't need to go into Ads Manager. As you know, and as you've set up as well, Supermetrics, we just pull the data out, we create custom
Yes.
charts, and we use Google Data Studio for a bit more trending. But essentially, our data is just at hand. So if we see something that isn't performing well, we look at trends. Like, is this unusual for this week, this month, or this time, or whatever? If, for example, and I just gave the example of ROAS being down, is ROAS down because our average order value's dropped, or our CPA has gone up? So then I can start to make logical decisions about what to do. Now, if AOV's dropped for some reason, that doesn't mean I should start editing my ad account, because that's potentially something on the site, maybe promotion-wise, stock-wise, variance-wise. There's so many reasons why AOV can drop. If it's CPA, then let's have a look at the ad account. Where in our funnel is it? Is it top of funnel, mid, bottom? Which campaigns? Is it our test campaigns? Like there's a whole logical sequencing that goes on, where we can make cold, calculated decisions on what to do next without any kind of emotion and knee-jerk reaction. And I think that's kind of how I've transferred that over. That I've had the privilege of working with so many different marketers and people in Facebook ads, and also agencies. And sometimes I look at our agency and I think, we're chaotic and there's some things we could do better. And I think as an agency owner, you're always critical of what you're doing. But then I look at what others are doing, and we're so far ahead. Like, we are so much in control of our ad accounts, because we have instant access to data. The data we have learned to know what to do in certain situations. So very rarely do we panic and make decisions that will undo the work we've done. But at the same time, it's about training your team to be like that as well. So, for example, on Wednesday's news about the US, I didn't know. It was a media buyer in the team that picked it up and said, hey, this is
Right.
why this is going on. And it's not to say that I'm the most knowledgeable person in the business. That's a terrible position to be in. But it's about building your team up to have that kind of knowledge. Give you another example. We were looking at results on an ad account, and it was one of the ad accounts was looking really bad last week. And I was like, yeah, we probably need to pull the results back, because I sometimes dive into accounts. I'm not into them day to day. And the media buyer said, no, we're at the early stage of testing CBO. And, and he said to me, like you teach, we should wait 3 days. And like, I'm glad you said that. Like, absolutely right. And I stood back, and lo and behold, the results improved. So, we're human, we're fallible and things like that. But
Of
once you have
course.
the process and you're teaching your team and the people around you what that is and what it means and how to interpret it, then you can become better at making those decisions and have the clear mindset of, we're going to use cold, hard data to decide whether and how we react, and take that emotion out. Follow the process. We have processes for a reason. Follow the process, and if it works, great, because it's been tested and stuff. If it doesn't work, then we adapt, right? Why did it not work this time around? Number one, let's fix that problem right now. Number two, let's fix the SOP, the process, and make sure it works next time.
Amazing. Absolutely. And I'm so happy that you brought up the unemotional state that you're in. I'm very big into, especially now that I've got a much larger team and I've got to figure ways out to motivate different types of minds and personalities. I've gotten very big, and always kind of have been. I wanted to be a shrink when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, but recently I've gotten very big back into neuroscience again, and just learning about involuntary physiological reactions. So our caveman brain is still conditioned to where fight or flight is very real, where if we get into a situation where there is threat, what we then do is make a decision: fight, freeze, or flight. And whichever way you slice it, cortisol just like shoots through the roof, right? However, if you don't know how to deal with the cortisol, most just freeze, or most just turn tail and run, or most just go, I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to grab at whatever straws I can. I'm going to change the structure. I'm going to tweak the ad account. I'm going to swap the creative around. I'm just grasping at anything to fight for that moment. But the unfortunate thing is, when you get into fight or flight, because your cortisol is so high, that's also when you make the least rational decisions, because we're in a panic state. So I'm so happy you said what you said, because those are the philosophies that I'm trying to steel myself with, but then also just impart to the team, just like what you're saying there too, because it's so principle based rather than tactical. Right.
Absolutely. And interestingly, you talk about the kind of primitive brain and kind of how humans think and stuff. I read a study. So I've studied neuroscience and behavioral psychology. I love those two subjects.
No way.
There's a guy called Martin Lindstrom. If you haven't read his book or books and his material, he does a lot of work with neuroscience, and he's such a cool guy in the sense that he puts people under tests, so fMRI scans and stuff like that. So they're looking at brain activity, and he will put them into certain scenarios and measure the reaction. So I think one of the experiments he did, or someone else, was to get someone to buy something online and to measure the mind's reaction. And one of the fascinating things he found, and it matches up with another study as well, which is when people buy something, they're parting with cash. It triggers the same part of the brain that is triggered when you experience physical pain. Just let that sink in for a minute, that it's actually painful to transact. And so like you have this thing about buyer remorse, right? So once you've bought a product, sometimes you're like, did I need it? Should I have bought it? Stuff like that. If you understand the psychology of that buyer remorse, then you have to think about how can you reaffirm the sale as fast as possible. Like, you've made a great decision, it's going to come soon, whatever, and really work on those benefits faster. Another part of it is when people transact online in particular, they don't have anything immediately there to hold. So if you go to a store and you buy jeans or a top, you take that bag with you, you get, although you feel the pain, you get the pleasure that you've got this physical thing at the end of it.
Yes.
Online, you don't have that. And that creates a gap in the brain because, and Amazon have solved that with their kind of one day and same day delivery. But for most e-com and most online, especially like info products and call sellers, you don't have that immediate
gratification. Yes.
I'll give you an example. Russell Brunson, for example, when he does his selling from stages, he sells you, 2.5K, 5K, 10K, whatever it is, product, but he gives you a t-shirt as well. That t-shirt, some people think of it as like, oh, why do I want it? Why is he giving it away? It's only cost him $10. I've just paid $5,000. There's a psychological reason, because he's giving you something. You just spent 5K with him. If you walk away from that and you have nothing in your hand, versus if you walk away with a swag bag of a pen and a charger and all whatever else, you feel like you've got something for it from it as well.
Amazing.
So it's really important to understand that as part of the whole kind of buyer persona and buyer journey, is to reinforce that purchase and confirm to them you've made a good decision. Not to be so cheesy as to say on the confirmation page, you've done a great job, thanks for buying with us. But you can do it a bit more kind of subtly than that. From
Yes.
the confirmation page, the emails afterwards, just to reconfirm. And that's where kind of good communications comes in. So if you're selling a product, doesn't matter if it ships in 5 days or 2 weeks, it's the communication pre-purchase and post-purchase that makes a huge difference here, and convinces that person that they've made the right decision.
Amazing. That is so amazing. And it matches exactly with the, again, all those involuntary physiological reactions, and also matches with Cialdini, who wrote the book about persuasion and influence.
Absolutely.
And the principle of reciprocity, also the same reason why if you go into most secondhand car dealerships or any place where there are a lot of salespeople, the first thing they do is offer you a drink or offer you a cookie or something,
That's
because
right.
there are just some certain social principles that psychologically you go, now I kind of have to say yes, or now I kind of have to be agreeable to this guy. I did gave my kid a cookie, and now my kid's happy. So
Exactly.
that's awesome. Do you believe then that naturally endorphins are here to help us? Endorphins help us bear through pain to get to the pleasure, right? That's the whole point of that chemical. Do you believe then that that's what the desire part is of what we do? So in other words, if we can raise the desire high enough, we can counteract that same the similar emotion or the similar neurological feeling of physical pain when buying something. It almost, we can supersede that because the endorphin is so high.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, here's the thing, like, what's the difference between selling and buying? Like, some people will just say, it's the same thing. Here's the difference. If I'm selling something to you and I say, buy this weight ball, and then I now need to convince you as to why you need it, versus I do that in a more psychological way and convince you that you need to buy it. The difference is that I'm making you make the decision, that you see this product. I've showed you how great it is. I show you examples. I get you really hooked into, if you've got a standing desk, you can use this as a weight and all that kind of stuff. I'm not selling it to you. I'm giving you the idea that this could be something good for you. And then I create
Absolutely.
scenarios and angles and hooks and stuff like that. And then I get you to my landing page, and the desire is building up, and you're like, oh, I want this. And then I hit you with the offer, and then you buy it. And that is, for me, the way that selling should be done, as opposed to, and I shared this with my students this week about how you can position something in an ad, for example. So a typical e-com ad, not just drop shippers, I see big brands doing this as well, is they give you like, this is a great training ball. There'll be some green tick emojis, shipped 3 to 5 days, etc. 15% off, buy it now. There's no emotion. You've not connected with me at all. There
Yes.
will be some people that buy, but they are probably people that are in market for this product, and you just grab them anyway. But then the majority of people, you haven't given them the vision of the new opportunity or the pain you're solving. Now, if you run the same ad again with a video that shows it in action and talks about the benefits, not the functional, but the emotional benefits of keeping yourself strong and supple and all those kind of things, and you do that with a few different videos and prime them through, then get them to your funnel, you'll get more sustainable results from that. And I think that's the difference between, for me, the difference between buying, offering something
Yes.
to be bought versus trying to get them to buy something as well. So the whole buying and selling, I like to go deep into this because I see it every day. I go out, if I go to a store, if I look online, I'm always judging as to what they're trying to do. So even like the car dealer, I know what they're doing, but I still go through the motions because I want to see how far it goes and how good they are. And I quite often use examples like that to then think, how can I turn that into an ad? How can I take this digitally and create the same kind of experience as well, to bring people into my world, into my funnel, and then get them to a position where they want to buy from me. Same happens with my brand, for example. So I share a lot of knowledge, advice, and stuff like that. I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy speaking to people like you, other people, etc., sharing that knowledge.
And it
but that
shows.
attracts people in. That says, wow, this guy's really good. I'd love to work with him. Or is he selling anything? I'd love to learn how he uses his strategies and stuff like that. And that becomes the difference between me pushing my products and saying, you need to buy this. Take the agency, for example. Literally, I think it's this week or last week. We've been running the agency since 2017. We've literally run our first ad. Like, this is the first time we're running ads for it, and it's retargeting because we haven't had to. Right back to 2014, 2015, I've been playing the knowledge share space because I enjoy doing it. Prior to me being kind of known on Facebook, I was doing it on LinkedIn and in physical meetups in London and stuff like that. So my profile had already been built up based on doing exactly what I'm doing right now. So a lot of people have seen over the last 2 years, oh, you start to share more online and you're more visible. I was more visible 3-4 years prior to that, and that helped my agency and helps me to develop. And I think that goes with brands as well. So we just had a conversation with a brand that want to launch their product, and we've talked about running brand awareness campaigns. Now, a lot of performance marketers will look at Facebook and say, I can never imagine running a brand awareness campaign. It's all website conversion and funnels and stuff like that.
Yes.
If you want to create impact in the space and you want eyeballs on what you're doing and really get people primed with revealing or kind of short kind of insights as to what's coming up, but without giving everything away, get them interested, get them excited, then you work top of the funnel to really build this massive interest in what you're doing, and then you start serving your direct response and you'll get a far better response from that as well.
Absolutely, which is the Hollywood movie
Exactly.
advertising model. That is the model, right? They advertise for months. Their actors go on tour and they talk about it ahead of time, hype it all up, and then when it drops, it's just like list building. It's so yeah, absolutely, totally agree with what you were saying. It makes so much sense, and to be able to it's really interesting after doing 6 episodes now, and what I am seeing is that the thought leaders, the I would call them, I guess, the people on the forefront of education and sharing knowledge, and sharing their insights, tend to have, and I love your opinion on this, and to hear how you think approach it, but they tend to have very much, whether they know it or not, conscious or subconscious, very much a systems thinking type mind. What I mean by that is the ability to somehow be able to render the whole as opposed to stare at one small part. And that's what gives them the calm. And that's what also gives them the ability to perform triage and diagnostics very quickly, because they can go, okay, I know how to zoom out. This isn't a traffic problem. This is an AOV problem. We're all facing and staring down this lens. I need to kind of change my lens a little bit, go to the wide lens instead of the zoomed in one. Do you find that that's the case? Like, is that a trait that you see as a pattern for the individuals that somehow can manage to stay calm and manage to navigate through things, as opposed to others that might have trouble doing that?
I believe so, and I think people need to learn that. I'll give you an example. One of my students just literally yesterday, I've been working with him for 12 months, online training, in person, and then coaching. He's literally just sold his ecom business for millions. And he's come from a place,
Amazing.
like many people, that have run drop shipping, done some learnings, made some failures, 6-12 months of just doing nothing, and then found a product which he wanted to turn into a brand. 12 months later, has sold it for 7 figures. And
Wow.
if you look at his kind of when I look at where he was before, he was so stuck in the detail of his ad account, like optimizing and tweaking, like so many people are. And one of the things I said to him is, over time, what you need to do is step back from your ad account and work on your business. They're two very different things, because your ad account, there's so many people who are solopreneurs that are running their own ads, selling their products, and they get so caught up in their ads manager that my first goal is get you out of there, give you the systems and processes and data so that you know what's going on and you know that what's happening because of the right inputs and everything are all fine. Literally this week, he scaled his ad account for the first time to 30K spend per day, $30,000. He would never have imagined this. And on top of that, he didn't have any stress doing that. He had full control of everything that's going on. And I know that 12 months ago, he wouldn't have even imagined doing that. And even if he did, would have struggled, because if there was slight changes in performance, he would have panicked. And I think that comes through that they're kind of all learning about what's important for your business. So for example, if you're creating a brand and that brand has something that's going to deliver value over time, then you would focus more on lifetime value than just your CPA. One of the things I try and get people to understand about Facebook ads is you are always paying per lead. So what I want people to understand from that is if you're running ecom or lead gen or anything else, your transaction with Facebook is give me that user and I'll pay you this much. So your cost per click, whatever you're kind of generating from Facebook, that's your only transaction with Facebook. What you do with that lead is your problem. So that's the funnel and conversion, call bookings, whatever you end up doing. So if you break that down, that's the only transaction you're playing with. So as long as you're getting the best users for the lowest price you can, that's your ad account done. Obviously, what goes into it and everything else is something else. But get that into a good shape, then focus your time on your funnel, your back end, monetization, everything else like that. And that's what I try to get people to understand is get your systems and processes in place by understanding the top level. What are the things that influence your numbers? Like I've shared, ROAS, CPA, all the way down. That tree trickles all the way down. Even right above that is LTV and what influences that. When you understand all of that, it's easier to make the right decisions and focus your time on the right things, because time is something which is finite for everyone, and you have to be so protective of that as a solopreneur, as a business owner, as a marketer, whatever you're doing. If you're spending the majority of your day in ads manager, you're doing something wrong. Even if you're running 10 ad accounts, you should have a process in place that allows you to monitor the high level and know if something isn't where it needs to be, what to do next. And I think that helps to take a lot of that stress and anxiety out. And you know, if I go back to 2014, 2015, the highest I scaled an ad account back in 2015. We were doing over 200K a day in ad spend. This was an e-commerce store, and I can't tell you how stressed I was. I felt like I couldn't leave the ad account alone, because when you're spending 200K, you're making losses or gains of 10K. Like, this is not just small numbers you're playing with, and it is hugely stressful. If I could go back there and plug in the systems I have now, I would have been far more in control, and I'd have had confidence to oversee what I was doing. But back then, you know, I would finish at the end of the day, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I would dread waking up in the morning, because that 5, 6 hours, 7 hours that I wasn't looking at the ad account, I just dread looking at it and seeing what happened, right? But now, doesn't matter what spend levels we go to, we're in control. We've got the processes in place and the systems and stuff to know that everything's working. So, you know, that's a learned behavior with anything. You know, even with driving a car, for example, if you're driving along and something goes wrong, we know generally to look at the dashboard first. It's the same with your business, right? So if the oil light comes on, all right, so that's the problem, or the petrol light has come on, you need to go and fill up. So that's how I see the business is get your dashboard in place, and then you learn to know what to do next. So in most cases, if the light comes on in the car, either fill up your petrol if that's the problem, the oil light comes in, take it to the garage or whatever it is. So you kind of learn that, but you need to have that dashboard. You need to understand how to interpret it. Then you can make the right decisions off the back of it.
See, guys, if you're watching, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Systems thinker, thinking about the whole car, not just because my car is not driving well, it has to be the engine. There's so many more things than just the engine. In fact, if you look at if you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can't even look in the engine as you're driving the car. So that's such a powerful and good analogy, because it doesn't decay too quickly. You can actually maintain it across multiple different situations. Exactly. As we arrive at this juncture, we're coming close to the end, the final 15 minutes of the top of the hour. If you have any questions, I see a few already, but if you have any questions, make sure you throw it into the comments, because you're here live after all, so might as well use the time. All them people who didn't manage to join us live, they can't ask any questions that Depesh can answer right now. So I've got one question here already. I want to make sure that it gets answered. It comes from YouTube, from username Brainstorm. How awesome. I love the fact that on YouTube you can actually call yourself whatever you want. Do you take the decision to cut off ad sets based on, and this is, I guess, a tactical question. It's funny how it's a tactical question, even though we've been speaking systems and principles the whole time. Do you take the decision to cut off ad sets based on lifetime / last 3 days or / last week?
So if we're going to go down to that level of detail, I don't look at ad sets before I look at ads. So if you've done the proper work in terms of setting up your campaigns, your audiences, and building audiences to last, you'll know this, that audiences generally outlast ads. So the first thing I'm looking at, if my ad set isn't performing, is going down to the ad level. Generally, I'm running 3 to 4 ads in an ad set. Might be a DCO, dynamic content optimized ad, which allows you to create one ad with multiple variants, or maybe 3, 4 separate ads that are running. My first question is, and this is how I diagnose, is if all of my ads at the same time have dropped in performance, then something's gone wrong with my ad set. But more often than not, it's 1 or 2 ads that have dropped, but the rest are working okay, which means my ad set is fine. So if you go and kill that ad set, it's like, sledgehammer meets nuts. Like, it's just an overkill to go and do that. Look at your ads first. Chances are you could probably just pause out 1 or 2 ads, let the others run, and your performance improves. Like, it's just such an easy way of doing it. I know, for example, if you're in the test phase, I know some strategies talk about spend this much and then pause your ad sets based on that. I don't get heavily involved in those kind of tactics. For me, it's just like we've discussed, is the process diagrams and the trees, which is if this, then that. I come from a coding background, so it makes sense to me. But it's literally just diagnosing. If my ad set isn't working, is it 1 or 2 ads? Is it the whole ad set? If it's the whole ad set, then maybe something's gone wrong with my optimization or my targeting or something like that. Then I might consider pausing the ad set and duplicating it or something like that. But I would say look at your ads first, and then decide what to do next.
Right. So let the numbers and the metrics and all that be the feedback for you to then make a discerned decision.
Absolutely.
Right. Got it. And Depesh here made a really good point that I want to make sure that we don't let go, or at least let go past, which is, this is how I diagnose. Again, another trait that I've noticed about people that are expert at their fields, the analogy that I have whenever, and it's come to me a few times now, having done a few episodes and of course speaking to them in my own time, is the experts that know exactly what they're doing are able to do it only because they treat it like a doctor would, like triage. You have to first look at the symptoms and determine if that is the illness or whether that is a side effect, and then diagnose all the way back to the root cause. And then they know what medicine or what treatment to provide, as opposed to just trying every single treatment and finding out which one works. Because sometimes, as doctors would know this very, very well, sometimes the cure can kill the patient, chemotherapy being one of them. So it's I'm so glad that you said this is how I diagnose. We've got more questions flowing in. I want to make sure I get to them. This one's a really interesting one. I don't know if they're on the right live stream. A strategic question. What do you look for when hiring an HR manager? And I guess Mert and Ab are from the same team, because then a follow-up question is, in order to grow your business, would you agree that the HR person is the most critical to hiring at the beginning?
So I've hired HR people, not for my own businesses, but for other businesses that I've been working with. And I think each time these are kind of startups that have grown into a position where the teams are growing and now you need a HR person. Really, by that point, you should know something about your company culture. You should already have gone through hiring processes. You should already have, some kind of processes around retention and things like that. So one of the things about hiring a HR person is they are now representing your business, especially as a founder. Like, the HR person becomes an extension of the founding team. So you want someone who really represents you, your values. You could be a fun and loving business. You could be a really strict and important, kind of like straight up business and things like that. They make a difference to the type of person you hire. So do you want someone who's bubbly and talkative and stuff like that? Or do you want someone who's just going to focus on the work? But one of the things I look at for the HR person is, again, process and systems. What experience do they have to bring in things that are going to make our life easier? So, for example, I think you might work with them as well. We use Workable, which is a great platform for hiring. We've used other systems like Charlie HR for managing our kind of processes internally, holiday requests, employee management, stuff like that.
Yes.
The role of a HR manager, for me, is not just being able to hire, but it's also being able to retain, but also to work on the processes and systems to enhance everything we're doing as well. So, the role of the HR manager will be to deal with internal stuff that goes on. So someone's got a problem with this, someone's got a problem with that, etc. Helping to improve your hiring pipeline, and not just react to what you're saying, but also challenge as well. Because as a founder, you might say, right, I need to hire someone for this. The best kind of HR managers are people that can work on a plan. So they'll work with you and say, who do you want to hire in 6 months' time? Because that's the person I'm going to start hiring now. I want to start building out that plan, the pipeline, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Who you do want to hire in 3, 6, 9, 12 months' time? Because if you're saying I need someone next week, the chances are you're going to struggle to find that person, especially if it's a really important strategic role, if you're rushing that person. So the HR manager needs to be great at planning, needs to be good at pushing back on you as a founder, because I know from my position that sometimes either I think I know I need to hire this role, but in reality I don't, I probably shouldn't, and someone that you can bounce those ideas off as well. So there's so many things I could discuss about that. I don't know what the context is for your kind of hiring, but I would say that hiring a HR manager could make or break the next leap in success that your business is going to generate. And probably Dee will tell you more from his own experience, but as you're leaping and growing your resources, if the HR manager is just there to help you hire new people in, but isn't considering the impact, like if you go from 10 people to 20 to 40, so many things break. There's so many more increases in lines of communication. There's so many new ideas coming in. I know, for example, when I hire, every hire I make is going to take a percentage of my time away, because especially if they're reporting into me, I need to train them, nurture them, coach them, etc. Do I even have capacity for that? There's so many things you have to consider. Hopefully the HR manager should help you with all of these things. But even hiring a HR manager itself is going to burden you as founders, because you absolutely need to give them the best chance of success, train them like any employee, support them, create a plan for them, etc. And I wouldn't expect them to have a big impact until like months 2, 3 comes by, at which point they will start to deliver and kind of take away burden from you. But like, for example, if you want to hire a HR person right now because you want to hire 5 people and they're going to help, it's not going to happen.
Totally agree. It is there is a lot of inertia to deal with. And again, I don't know if you guys noticed, as Depesh was answering that, again, systems thinker. As he's thinking about hiring someone, he's also thinking about the percentage of time and resource that it pulls from him as well, and whether he can support that. The whole system has to kind of work. It's not just jamming one thing in. So again, I want to make sure we don't miss out on those things. So yeah, I mean, our team's 50 plus now, so we're getting to that point where we're having to have, functional charts and all those other things. I could go on and on about HR, but I'm not the guest for today, fortunately, so I don't have to. I'm going to keep going with the questions, if that's okay with you, Depesh, because they are rolling in hard and fast. You're just slaying it over here. So the next question comes from Ben Davenport. What's the 5 most important things a good sales funnel should have with regards to content?
So I'd say the first thing your sales page needs to have is some kind of orientation. So one thing my first kind of foray into online marketing was conversion rate optimization and analytics. So I learned a ton about this. First thing is orientation. Like the first thing they need to see on the site is that they're on the right page. Even something as simple as where the logo is placed. Now, it's obvious that most people put their logo in the top left. Why is that? Well, it's because in the Western world, we read left to right. And so if you look at the pattern of how people scan a page, there's like the Z graph. So they look at the top left, they scan across, and they go down and scan across. Yes. And that kind of continues down the page. So I want to make sure that I'm orientating them first. Then I want to connect with wherever they've come from. So if I'm creating a sales page for an ad, I want to make sure that any kind of key angle or hook that I've generated from that ad is carried over in that landing page. So now if I'm talking about a particular pain point and I've really got you hooked on my ad and then you've clicked into the page, but I send you to a generic product page and you've lost that connection between me really bringing you into this journey. And, we talk about congruency. If that's missing on the lander, then you will have a natural attrition as well. So there are a few things I'm looking for. Then it's really depending on your AOV, your average order value. The higher the amount that you're asking someone to transact with, the more work you need to do on the lander. So for example, if I'm selling something for $100 plus, whether it's info or ecom, my lander is going to be a bit more detailed. I'm going to have a bit more copy. But one of the things I learned really early on is that you have 3 types of users that hit your site. There's the hunter, there's the tracker, there's the explorer. The hunter is the person that just wants to buy your product. Like, get out of my way. I know what I want. Give me the buy button. Let me go. The tracker is someone that kind of knows, but they just need a bit of guidance, and you kind of guide them through. Then the explorer is, I'm not really sure. I just want to find out more, and I want to scroll, and I want to read and stuff like that. They're the three basic buyer personas that I'm thinking about when someone lands on my page, and that's dictated by also where I'm funneling them in from. If a retargeting ad is hitting you after you've already visited my page, seen my ads top of funnel, you're probably in that hunter mode, and I need to get you as fast as possible to your resolution, which is to buy the products. Whereas if you're top of funnel, and especially if my ad doesn't do so much work in terms of explaining the product and proposition, and you land on my lander, I'll give you an example. So I launched a sales page, which for a $200 info product, the ad was literally 3 to 4 lines, and it was
Right.
playing on a particular pain point, which was Facebook ads anxiety. And then that's what it was. It was just a curiosity hook to get you to click. The landing page was a real long form landing page, but it was built in a way that would hook you in, would make you leave if you're not my right customer, and then if you were, make you read on and on and on. And what I'm doing there is to try and answer the questions for the people coming in. But if anyone wanted to buy sooner, then there was a sticky buy now button there. It would just take them to the bottom of the page, for example. So it's really kind of thinking about the context of who's coming in. There's difference between people who are cold, warm, hot, even existing customers, and how you funnel them through as well.
Amazing. It's funny as you were saying that. What arrived in my mind was the similarities from my discipline when I cut my teeth in storytelling and in filmmaking, where orientation is the same as the establishing shot. Like if you want to start a movie, you got to show where everyone is, and the next thing is continuity, which is the congruency part. To then go, if what was shown in the previous scene, if someone opens the door and it looked like they were in a home, and they open the door and they somehow end up in the forest, users, viewers go, wait, was that meant to happen or not? So the intentionality is there, and having that congruency. There's so many similarities with the art of storytelling, and even the hunter, tracker, and wanderer. It's the same as, I guess, especially live performers. They would know that, especially stand-up comedians. The hunter just goes, just tell me the punchline. This is too much, right? I'm gonna skip to YouTube to the end of the video, and I just want to get to that point. I'm busy. And then you have the tracker, who's a bit like, yeah, I might listen, I might tune out a little bit. And then the explorers, I'm just here for the ride. Like, I just make me laugh. I might not laugh, and it's so interesting how many similarities there are. It's almost as if the principles stay the same. Humans and the way what we need stays the same. It's just we've managed to find different ways to slice and dice it.
And actually, just on that topic, that you hit one of the nails on the head of what I try to explain about marketing is marketing hasn't changed over 100 years or 1,000 years. Like how you convince and convert someone. Yes, the medium has changed and the platforms, but fundamentally the kind of how hasn't changed. So, for example, one of the books that I found quite profound was Scientific Advertising by
Yes.
Hopkins. That still plays now in 2020. It was literally written about 100 years ago in a very different time about split testing and offers and stuff like that. It still works because humans are still the same. Humans still like buy one, get one free. They like discounts. They like free stuff and whatever. That is not going to change. So the rate of human evolvement is like really slow. Technology is like that, and technology will
Yes.
keep changing and enhancing. We have to adapt. But how you communicate to a person, it doesn't fundamentally change.
Amazing. That makes so much sense. Got another few questions here for you. If you're happy to oblige us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So we got Tyler, who's asking, what are typically the most impactful and common changes small business owners can make to their business to see exponential growth on Facebook ads? I guess what he's talking about is maybe what you were talking about before, where it's working on the business, not necessarily the ads, and maybe that's what inspired him to ask that question.
So that's a real broad question.
It is.
I would kind of start by asking a few questions around where are you at right now? What's your goal? How much can you invest in time and money? One of the things that I talk to small business owners about is when you're making a decision between time and money investment, that has a big play into your next step. So for example, if money's tight, all you've got to play with is your time. So now you need to maximize that time. How do you do that? You can either go it by yourself, you can hire a mentor or a coach, or if money's tight, you can't do that, or you go into groups and you learn at your own pace. But the results you get are going to take longer because you're going to have to learn as you go. If you've
You
got
pay
money
with
to
time.
invest, then you absolutely, and if you've got money to invest, you can save the time, invest in someone or an agency or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It could be a freelancer. As long as you've done your due diligence and selected the right person for you, then you earn time back to work on other parts of your business. So that's my first position, is how and where can you invest? Then you figure out what you can do. So for example, if you're a solopreneur, you're doing e-com or whatever it is, you're investing your own money into the business and you're not yet profitable and you need to get profitable first, then be realistic about timescales. Don't be blown away by the case study that you read that this guy went to 100K in 30 days, because it's the exception, not the norm. Like, this is one of the things that I try and get people to understand, is when you see these fancy numbers and case studies going on, look at the context, who's actually doing it. So if I share a case study, and I did share a case study a few years ago that we took a brand from a couple of million to 16 million in 5 months, it's the exception, it's not the norm. You're not going to go away and do that immediately, but over time, when you learn and stuff like that, then if you get everything in place, you can do that. So if you're investing your own time, then be realistic about timelines. What's your kind of goal, and how realistically can you make that happen with your own time? So go into the groups, the forums, find the right people to learn from, people that you feel like they connect with you in terms of their learning style and stuff like that, and learn and apply and learn and apply, and join Q&As, join group discussions, AMAs, all that kind of stuff, and learn as much as possible. I'll give you an example. Back in 2009, I lost my job, recession, depression, everything just didn't work out well for me. And I went from corporate to, I now need to make money online, like many people do. And I learned affiliate marketing on my own. I didn't have money to invest, but I had time. So I learned it. It took me 6 months to make my first affiliate commission. So there was a lot of patience involved, a lot of learning, asking questions in forums and stuff. And then I made my first commission, and then it drove my motivation further. And then within 18 months, we've made significant revenue. But that was me investing my time in. Now, if I could go back, I would love to have hired someone, because it took me probably 12 to 18 months to make good money. If I could have hired someone that could have fast tracked that, then great. But I didn't have money, and that's my situation. So I think that's the start point to have a look at before you look at your kind of big ambitions to grow your business, is where am I right now?
Amazing. Again, diagnose first. Have to diagnose first. Have to get the context first. Absolutely. Thank you so much for answering that one. We have there's one final one here, and then guys, I'll cut it off from there, and make sure I thank Depesh for his time. The final question coming from Peter: have you ever ran accounts for a subscription business or subscription businesses? And if yes, and it looks like you're nodding. How were you tracking recurring purchases outside Facebook's default attribution?
Absolutely. So I've run many subscriptions through Facebook. The first thing is, like I mentioned earlier, understanding that Facebook is your lead gen. So first of all, I'm looking at obviously the cost per acquisition, and then I'm looking at time to pay back. One of the key things about Facebook marketing for subscriptions is cohorts. Like, when you have your CPA, and let's say week 1 of April, your CPA is this, week 2 is with this, week 3 is this. At some point, based on your payback, you're going to have to look at the cohort of people that came through in week 1 of April, and the cost per acquisition was X. What is the payback period? What's the lifetime value? What's the profitability like? So it's all at the cohort level. Now, one of the biggest challenges is, all right, 6 weeks down the line, we figured out that whatever we did in the first week of April was great. Now it's 6 weeks later. How do we keep doing that? One thing that we look for is the sign of early success. So, for example, if you're in a subscription business, one of the measures you can look at is early churn. So after the first order, what percentage leave, how second order, etc., like that. We actually went further and found that the earlier the churn, in many cases, the higher that cohort was to be a low quality. So what I mean by that is, especially when you're running promotions for subscriptions, like first product free, or first product is only $1 or something like that, you get a lot of people who are freebie seekers that will come into your pipeline. So initially it'll make your CPA look good, but essentially they're just trash. What we found, one of the key metrics for a few different brands, was a 48-hour churn was a high indication as to whether that cohort would pay back and be profitable. So what we do is, when someone's signed up for a free offer, if one particular campaign, and we track this for different ad campaigns, if one campaign had a higher than average 48-hour churn, we knew it was bad. To give you an example, we're running Facebook ads, but this one was also doing affiliate marketing. They ran a promotion with a particular affiliate, had super low CPAs, and they were really happy about this. We looked at the 48-hour churn, it was way over what it should have been. So we knew that whatever list they'd gone for, whatever offer they were running, we're just getting the freebie seekers, and they were not going to give us any kind of return whatsoever. So I think just understanding churn, predictive metrics early on will help your Facebook ads campaign be a lot more successful as well.
I'm so happy I heard the word cohorts for the first time in 6 episodes, and I'm only smiling ear to ear because it was nerding out about cohort analysis on a Neil Patel forum back in the day. Was that was the reason, or the meet cute of how Scott and I first met, my co-founder, on a forum. We were talking exactly about cohort analysis. But that was super insightful and so helpful, because that's so tactical to the point where it gives us so much clarity on what numbers to actually look at, how to diagnose, and how to react based on those things. Now, before we end it off, and I so appreciate your time. Before we end it off, I hope everyone in the comments, please join me in thanking Depesh for spending his time and dropping his wisdom. I enjoyed this hour and a little bit thoroughly, being able to pick a beautiful mind. Always love doing that.
Thank you.
Now, you are a font of knowledge, not only from a strategic and from a philosophical standpoint in terms of principles, but then also have this amazing innate ability to break down complex concepts and tactics into very simple to understand terms. So for people that would like to seek more of that, how can they find you? Where can they go and get more of the good stuff?
Sure. I think the easiest and fastest way is my website, depeshmandalia.com. You can see my logo there. And I guess that's the launchpad for kind of everything I am and everything I do at the moment in terms of the business.
Amazing. And what about that Facebook group that you got too?
Facebook Ads Experts Academy. It's a learning zone. It's just sharing, learning, things like that. So yeah, if you're in the Facebook ad space, one thing that we've tried to do is to really work hard on the quality of everything that goes in. So I guess one of our USPs, as many Facebook groups, is that we monitor and clean up the group a lot. So inactive users, spammers, all of that kind of stuff. And it's hard work, but it's rewarding as well.
Absolutely. And keeps if you keep the tribe strong, then new members come in and they know how to act as well. So exactly. That makes a ton of sense. If you, for those of you watching, those are the 2 places to go find out more information about Depesh, or interact with Depesh and his circle of people that surround him and that he surrounds with his knowledge. A lot of sharing in there. I'm a member in that group as well, and there's always really, really good stuff, and the team does work really hard to keep that group top notch. Depesh, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can circle back in a few weeks or a few months from now and look back at this and go, wow, that was a wacky time to be catching up. And I actually do wonder what the world looks like pretty soon. Yeah. Thank you so much, Depesh. Let me say bye to everyone. I'll make sure we have a little chit chat right after this too, just to.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for your attention. I really do appreciate you. If you liked what you saw today, Depesh dropped so much stuff. I'm so grateful for him. Please make sure that you tag a friend so they can watch us after. And also, if you're going to post anything about this or take a screenshot of maybe even take a phone photo of this screen right now, make sure you hashtag the GG show. And like Depesh said, you can find him more about him on his website, depeshmandalia.com, or go to the Facebook Ads Expert Academy. Those are the best places to go look for him. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for your attention. See you next time.